podcast, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He is the founder and CEO of Convergence, your path to creative power, none other than Mr. David Allen Brown.
Hello.
Welcome once again, Mr. David. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. My name is David Allen Brown. I'm an author, presenter, speaker, philosopher, I guess, in a way. I'm based in New York City in the States, but I speak and travel all around the world to help people discover and understand and regulate their inner voices, knowing that this level of emotional and personal intelligence can take us exactly where we want to go, both each day to have a wonderful life, and then over the long term to create and manifest the things that we are most meant to do in the world. So pleased to be here to share these ideas with you and your listeners.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. David. Thank you. So today let's talk about convergence itself, your path to creative power. So tell us, the word convergence implies a distinct path coming together. What are the primary, often separate elements like skills, mindset, or disciplines that must converge to unlock this unique creative power?
Yeah, I think it comes down to three distinct parts of the human experience, which is what we do, what our actions are, how we exist in this world, what decisions that we make, what actions that we take day to day. I mean, we all have to exist here. We have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to take care of this body on the physical form. We have to respond to the stimuli that come to us. We have to accept responsibility for existing on this plane. This is what we do. This is where we're manifest. This is where we're making a difference. That's number one. Number two is an emotional side to us, which is the inherent and sometimes even chemical and just base side of our bodies, but that in fact are designed. We have evolved to a place where our emotional capacity is huge, and yet so many of us have not been taught or trained or understand the value and the power of those emotions. We release judgment for our emotions and accept whatever they are as the sort of GPS of our lives, our guidance system. What should we be responding to? How should we be integrating? How does that work along with action? But there's a greater source around us that is greater than anything that we know, that allows us to tap into all of the resources and understanding and compassion and peace that is of the universe. Call it whatever you'd like: higher power, faith, religion, God, whatever it is. Integrating this understanding into our life is the third element. When these three things come together, converge, if you will, then we are in a state of mind, in a state of being that allows us to fulfill our purpose in the world and then enter into a manifestation cycle, which allows us to create whatever it is that we most need and desire.
Need and desire. So, how is convergence fundamentally different from us simply being a multi talented person or jack of all trades? What is the
Sure.
alchemy that happens when these elements truly integrate?
Well, I think first of all, if we think we're a jack of all trades, we're realizing that's one aspect of our lives. We do many things very well, but we may not be integrating the how we feel about that, or how we are empowered, or what's driving us to do those things, let alone the higher understanding of why we do those things and how we're able to affect the world. So we don't want to do just one thing. That's what convergence is, bringing these things together. But I think the other side of it is this notion that if we just work hard enough, or if we just pray hard enough on its own, or if we just feel deeply enough and bring enough emotion to a situation, that it will all resolve. And that just simply is not the case. The human experience is well rounded. It requires more than one aspect of us. In fact, it requires the convergence of these things. And what I mean by that is that we enter into a literal discussion. We get involved with, recognize those three aspects, those three voices sometimes in our head, and have a conversation in order to find the agreement that means that they will move forward. And of course, then what makes this program special is that then it's not just about, oh, so each day I can feel a little better or smile a little more, but no, we can tap into the creative power. That's what's in the title of the course, the creative power to then make the things happen that we need and desire to have happen, both for ourselves and for others. There is no magic to this. This is a system and a process that allows us to elevate ourselves into the greatest form of human capacity that we can be, and then integrate the greatest form of spiritual capacity in order to do amazing and wonderful things.
Amazing and wonderful things. I like that, Mr. David. Is convergence a deliberately structured process, or is it more often spontaneous, emergent phenomenon? Can you force it, or do you have to create a conditions for it happen?
I think it's both. I think the conditions are an openness and a wantedness to find out how powerful we really are. It's a release of fear and worry, and it's acceptance of something greater than ourselves. But then beyond that, yes, it is a very specific program. The long form of my program is 27 lessons long. It has 30 exercises and workshops. It's designed to create a full and deep understanding of these different aspects of our purpose and our being and who we are, and then learn how, by step processes and explanations, how to integrate them into our lives in order to be creational. I have a smaller version that's just come out. It's a quick start version that is faster. It's five very concise lessons and five exercises. But yes, to answer your question, it is very intentional. It is designed, in fact, to be something that's very specific that people engage in. This is not magic thinking anymore. It's an understanding that the wonder of the metaphysical dynamics that we understand integrate with the soul of the body and the energy and emotion that we have in order to then take action with the very hands and fingers and bodies that we've been given. So it is an intentional process, and that's the point. We have to step into it, we have to choose it, we have to participate in it in order to make it happen.
The personal journey, Mr. David, can you describe a pivotal moment in your own life or career when you experience a powerful convergence? What separate parts of your life suddenly clicked together, and what was creative outcome?
Yeah, I can. I think that there's been a great deal of change in my life in the last 5 years. And I came out of a very depressive episode and a standard but unfulfilling life, especially in the sort of American sense of it, as far as, money, house, family, job, all of the, the ideals, quote unquote, that are supposed to be there. But I found myself very much lacking and very much lost. And when I took action, because the first thing, or one of the primary tenets of overcoming our lack or our depression or our illness, is understanding that action dictates mood. And so I began to understand that I had to do things, that I couldn't just expect something wonderful to happen. I had to take little steps, sometimes difficult, sometimes painful, sometimes major, sometimes huge, sometimes scary. But by taking that action, what it awakened in me was emotions that I hadn't felt for years. For me, depression was not sad all the time. For me, depression was numb all of the time. And when I started to feel those emotions, some of them rushing forth in great strength because they had been neglected for so long, I realized that I had been neglecting something I knew since I was very young, which was that these two aspects could integrate, could talk to each other, could soothe and nurture and care for each other, could provide direction and understanding. And that's what I wanted to have happen. And because I was older now, I could realize that there was something far greater than me that I could integrate into this. So after I went through a divorce, after I left my family structure, after I entered into a brand new career that I hadn't known would happen again. Then Convergence happened and said, oh, you're meant to write this down. This is your life's work, David, after 3 books and traveling the country and speaking in front of audiences and trying to inspire others and bringing other people's material in front of other people. Then the creative moment occurred and said, no, no, this is your calling. Teach this. This will make a difference in people's lives. It's what you were meant to do here. And so I leaned into and became and created not only a brand new memoir that tells my story, but now these online courses of which there are options to choose from, because I believe that they can make a difference in people's lives. So I listened to the voices. I regulated the not always healthy self and put them together in order to create something that became what I hope is life changing. And if not across the globe, then at least for one individual at a time who might find it, go to my website, join the community, and experience the program.
The tension of opposites, convergence often requires holding two seemingly opposing ideas like logic and intuition,
Mhm.
or discipline and play. How do you navigate this tension without letting one dominate the other?
I think that's the perfect question, because how do we not let one dominate? And that's how we know. If your listeners are able to pull up the logo, see those that Venn diagram of concentric circles that come together and overlap, to find the equality in integrating, honoring, respecting, loving, accepting the input of each part. What becomes unbalanced is when we get into a place of so much action. All we're doing is doing. We're just doing and doing and doing. We're trying to survive. We're trying to keep up. We're trying to stay with what social media tells us we should be, or even what our parents demand of us. If we're just doing, that's dominating. And yet we're neglecting perhaps how we feel, or we don't have meaning from the higher power that's being integrated. We can be stuck in higher power, believe in a piousness that says all of this is up to an energy or a God or whatever. I don't have to take action. I'm not required to make the world a better place, which in fact is ignoring the action part of ourselves. We can be overwhelmed by emotion, sometimes very naturally. Of course, it happens in times of grief, times of loss, times of injustice. But that being stuck there is the fallacy. Every feeling, every emotion has a purpose. Every feeling is a gift. The gift of anger is inspiration and energy. The gift of fear is caution and reserve and consideration. The gift of joy is understanding and enthusiasm. Every feeling has that. Being stuck in any one of those things is exactly what you're asking about. And that's how we know I'm just doing the one thing. It's only when we integrate them, only when the conversation happens, only when we allow the higher power to soothe the emotion, that then action can be taken. There's an agreement that happens. And that's what the course is about. Well, how do I know when I've agreed? How do I go through this process? That's what I teach. How to recognize the voices, how to regulate them, and then how to integrate them into a system that day to day provides for wondrous living, and then over time provides a creation in order to make incredible things happen.
Incredible for sure. What's an example of a useless skill or unrelated life experience that unexpectedly converged with your primary work, leading to a breakthrough you cannot have planned for?
That's an amazing question. I think I became very aware that in spite of me teaching and providing insight to people from the stage, being invited to create, to provide spiritual insight, to teach the work of other people, to sound, and even my first book, which is extremely intellectual, very much in the doing, the thoughtful, the mental state of action, wanting to be so impressive in the what I could do part. It wasn't until I went through difficult tragedy, that I experienced loss, that I lost my mother, for example, or left my marriage, that emotion came in, that I realized what was happening. And so I would go to these same audiences, spiritual groups, churches, gatherings of religious folk. And when I turned the corner, when I let go of needing to be in such control, being so afraid of what I might say, of presenting other people's material, and I opened the floodgates to inspiration, to higher power. I said, your words, not mine. And the inspiration that came was, tell your story, David. And my emotional self got excited and enthusiastic and said, oh, okay, that feels right. And my powerful skill as a teacher and as a speaker said, I will go to this place and I will do that. And when I started telling my story, the response of the audience, the way people leaned in, the authenticity and emotion that they were experiencing suddenly burst through in a way that after 20 years of teaching had been absent. And I knew that this level of authenticity and vulnerability and integration and convergence, this was where the power would be. And it took bringing these three things together. And the tragedy, you would think, oh, I don't want that. I don't need that. That's not helpful. When in fact, it was the exact fuel that needed to be ignited in order to bring me to that place of understanding, of convergence, of empowerment, and then of radical and amazing direct influence on the folks who were listening and being a part of whatever I was doing.
When multiple passion and skills converge, how does that impact your sense of identity? Does it create a more cohesive self, or more complex or multifaceted one?
Mhm. I think the danger is that it seems complex. I'm an overthinker. I overthink all the time, and so there's a notion that I could be caught in the conversation uh, forever. That oh, emotion needs their say, and higher power. How will I discern that? And oh, what action should I take? And I could think and delay action forever until it felt just right. And oh, but do I know this is the right answer to this? What I
Mm-hmm.
found, of course, is that the moment, the holy instant of convergence provides such clarity that what it creates for me and for people who master it is a great deal of just confidence, of stepping into the world knowing that I'm going to try this today because I'm inspired to do it and it feels like the right next thing. And then I will powerfully discern what has happened. I will accept, I will evaluate, I will feel my feelings again. I will ask for another level of inspiration. And in the next moment or the next hour or the next day, I will try again and I will confidently step forward into that place as well. Because I know that where I am leading is reticent with all of me. It makes me more complete. It makes me more authentic. It makes me more daring. It makes me more energetic. And so when I come across people and they don't even know why it is, that they're not even certain what this energy they've come across with, but suddenly they want to engage. And maybe they need something from me. Maybe they want to provide me with a wisdom. Maybe they want to provide me with a job. Maybe they want to provide me with prosperity. Maybe they just want to share an energetic moment with me. But stepping into that confidently, as opposed to the wondering and the guessing and the being slogged down or stuck in one area, that's the gift of convergence. We step out energetically and confidently into the world, knowing that the universe will provide exactly what is next and bring us and show us exactly where to step next. Not always easy, not always simple, not always joyfully. Sometimes the emotions are varied and raw and difficult. And yet, now we know why they're there. Now we integrate them into the great comfort of the unconditional love of the divine and into the great power of taking action in response.
How does one strategically stack a new learning on top of existing knowledge to create a deliberate path toward a future of convergence rather than just collecting random skills?
Yeah,
Random
exactly.
skills.
And that's the point. The program is specifically designed to lead us through an understanding of first how do we hear, how do we recognize these voices. Step one along the path is just a simple understanding that this is part of who we are, part of our physiology, as well as our psychology, as well as our divinity, and learning to recognize. And there's a true acknowledgement that if the if this is new, there may be difficult times. The voices may not be loving. They may be challenging. They may be neglected. They may be wounded. They may need healing. And yet, within us and without are the resources in order to do that. So there is some calling at the start to get very real about what we're experiencing and what we're hearing and why we might be hearing it. And those voices, there aren't any that need to be gotten rid of. They're very likely those that need to be healed. And the same one that is in pain or angry can be soothed by both action and inspiration. So the first step is, do I understand the voice? Do I hear them? Do I recognize them? Are they being honored? Can I trust them? Then when we go down the path, we learn the relationships that occur between the circles. When emotional self is in need, how does action or inspiration heal and bring that into balance? When action is required, how does inspiration guide that action and emotion help us evaluate it? When we are seeking our purpose, are we inviting the divine in so that we can hear the voice of inspiration, which fundamentally comes down to ourselves being unconditionally loving and in support of the world around us? So, yes, there is a very specific path and understanding. It starts with recognition and understanding. And that's where the program starts too. They're there, the voices are there. Sometimes it's as simple as just an exercise. Like if you ask yourself, what do I want from dinner? Who answers the question? Just knowing that there are different aspects of our personalities without having to dive into Freud and Jungian and all of the different ways that, don't worry, I've done that for you. Trust the process and learn to recognize and regulate these voices.
Trust the process indeed. And Mr. David, in a world of increasing specialization and AI, why is the human capacity for convergence becoming the ultimate competitive advantage?
I love the way you phrased that. And here's my answer. I'm not immune or opposed to AI, and I recognize how it works, which is basically a collective intelligence of the entire planet that's been put into digital form and then accessed. And the amount of knowledge that is there is spectacular. And it is dormant until human beings pick it up and utilize it and integrate it into the human experience. Whether that's a business capacity or a sports capacity or an understanding capacity or just writing a letter capacity, okay, fine. But it just sits there until we integrate it. And the same is true of convergence. Each of these powers, the knowledge power, which certainly could be helped by AI or the digital world that we live in, but is no match on its own for integrating that into the genius wisdom that thousands of years of evolution have brought into our heads, have brought into our bodies, have brought into who we are as human beings. And AI, with all of its knowledge, is not a source of the incredible, endless, unbounded well of love and compassion that is the true nature of what human beings are meant to be. And that can only be enacted by the human. It can only be enacted by a person who steps forth into the realm, energy, and experience of another person and makes the difference in the world. That person can use AI to get all of the knowledge that they need, but they will not experience the wonder that human interaction brings through love and emotion and action that can only happen when we move away from pure knowledge and into knowledge, experience, and divinity. That's where we're going. That's what will save us. That's what will propel us. That's our function as a human being on this planet.
Mr. David, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book one review in fifth season two, comedy one in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, law 101 and Bible verses 101, love letters in third season, and movie 101 review and music 101 fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So if someone fully embraces this path, what becomes possible? Is it about creating masterpiece, solving the world problems, or something more personal entirely?
It's about all of those things. It's about the human desire to want to be greater, to want to be greater than ourselves, to want to do amazing things. And whether we do that through art or compassion or healing or wisdom or teaching, it's about all of those things. We must stop focusing on the what and return to the why. And the why is because we are compassionate, loving beings put on this planet to be compassionate and loving. And let us return there, and the rest will manifest exactly as we need it to in our own personal lives and in the great experience of humanity.
Mr. David Allen Brown, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your courses, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
And of course, find me at davidallenbrown.com. Notice the spelling that's on your screen. It's that middle name that sometimes holds people up. David Allen, ALAN, Brown, BROWN.com. You'll find everything I do there, including a way to reach out to me if you want to be in conversation, if you need a scholarship, if you want to ask questions. I like to engage. I want to engage. And I invite you in to these amazing programs that I've created for you.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. David Allen Brown. Because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering convergence to come. Of course, will rise. So, Mr. David, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.